And continuing, the games are over. Will Putin take the gloves off? For more than 2 weeks while Russia hosted the Winter Olympics, President Vladimir Putin did his best to show the world that he and his country have a soft side. Now that the games are over, Western governments are concerned the smile will disappear and the gloves will come off. That's why they launched the attack during it, the Western Soros attack during it against Ukraine. In Russia, tug of war with Europe over the fate of Ukraine. The circus artists, dancers, and flag bearers hardly had time to leave the stadium after the closing ceremony before Russia announced it had recalled its ambassador from Ukraine from consulates in Moscow. Russian state television said they don't accept the new government as legitimate. And Western governments are saying, do not launch your military into the country. You've got the eastern area that's mainly Russian citizens. You've got the West that was more allied with Germany in World War II. And I understand they have a beef with Russia, but they should know that the euro will suck them dry. And the euro are the ones that spent $5 billion with the State Department fomenting this. And so I'm sure from different perspectives, there's different reasons for this. The point is the detonator, the initiator on all this is the West. Now, I don't know Max Kaiser's take on this, but I know he's lived all over Europe and covered it. So we'll get his take on it. But, you know, I mean, I'm for the Arab Spring, except it got hijacked and in some cases stirred up by the West. What is your view, Max, of what's happening right now in the Ukraine?
Well, you know, Russia, Iran, and China, we've talked about this before. They have a mutual defense pact, I guess you could call it, or it's the Shanghai Cooperation Agreement. And, you know, China, Russia, and Iran share something very interesting in that they don't have central banks that are controlled by the Fed or the IMF or the World Bank. So there's enormous pressure by the central banks of the West to seize these operations of Iran, Russia, and China, because that's a threat to the central bankers. And the central bankers in the West are what feed those enormous bonuses on Wall Street by printing up those trillions of dollars of the quantitative easing. But because Iran, China, and Russia have economies that, well, in the case of Russia, of course, they have huge natural resources, and they don't really need to have a financialized Ponzi scheme like you have on Wall Street. So they don't really need to be part of the confederation of corrupt central banks, whether it's the ECB, the Bank of England, Bank of Japan, the Federal Reserve Bank. So that's where the tension is. And the situation in Ukraine, obviously, it's another hit piece by, you had John McCain down there in the CIA looking to stir trouble. They're looking to seize any assets they can and fund some local CIA-sponsored folks, and game on. The same thing we've seen in Central America, South America, North Africa. This is the global insurrection against banker occupation, as we've been talking about on your show for years. It's just been getting larger and more violent as the central bankers want to protect their monopoly in printing fiat nonsense and giving themselves huge bonuses and letting everyone else starve. What's interesting is that in the Ukraine, on the economics front, the price of food has been going up. We've talked on your show before, Alex, about when the price of food as a percentage of disposable income gets to around 40%, there's usually some kind of violent revolution. We saw it in the Arab Spring. We see it now in Ukraine. We see it in historically going back to the French Revolution. So that's another byproduct of this money printing, is that the poor people who are exposed face-to-face with the rising food costs as a percentage of disposable income, when it gets to a certain level, they just go into the streets because they've got nothing to lose.
Exactly, Max, but that's the problem. They know when these countries are going to blow up, so the West then triggers its revolution to make sure a real revolution doesn't happen. And so instead of the Russian allied government that's obviously got problems, they're now going to go with the EU, who's already saying they're going to put the Ukraine under debt. I mean, this is...
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So that I'm saying that's what you have at work here.
And so they're coming after net neutrality. They're coming internet taxes.
Yeah, they've done it instead. You know, Aaron Swartz died for the sins of the corpocracy. But, you know, you're coming to Oxford University, Alex. We're doing an interview with you when you're in London. You're going to be taking a victory lap in the United Kingdom. You were here a few months ago. You were on television. You busted the ratings charts of all these shows that never had ratings like with you or on the show ever in their history on the BBC. Now Piers Morgan is dead. The Wicked Witch is dead. You're coming back here for a victory lap, much deserved victory lap in the UK. We want to document it. We want to be there.
Yeah, I'm flattered that Oxford has me speaking at their main end of winter keynote to the faculty and private members of Oxford Oxford Hall there.
Well, they didn't invite Piers Morgan. You know, they didn't invite a slime bucket like Piers Morgan because he's...
No, but let me ask you, why do you think the faculty is inviting me to come address them? That's bizarre.
Because you're a media maven. I mean, you've redefined public media in the world.
That's what they said in their letter. They said I'm changing the media, the way the media works. That's what they want me to speak on.
Absolutely. I mean, you've been an inspiration to MaxKaiser.com. You've been an inspiration to our work on television. You've been, you know, people like Luke Rudkowski, who's one of the greatest journalists in the world right now. Where do you think he came from? He came out of the Alex Jones world. So now you're taking a much-deserved victory lap. And I think there's going to be, you know, it'd be on my show.
I do like England. I got to tell you, I really love England. That's why I said I'd come back. Because I love the Salisbury Plain. I was going to live somewhere. Gosh, that's beautiful. Well, listen, Max, we'll talk to you for a full hour soon if you can do it on everything in the world. Thank you so much for popping in.
And my pleasure, Alex. Bye-bye.
We don't get stimulus money like MSNBC or NPR. We get funded by the people listening and watching. This is radio. It's really a radio show, but it's grown into TV over the last decade. I started out in TV. So when you buy the books, the videos, the T-shirts, the super high quality, non-GMO heirloom seeds, the lowest prices at the International Seed Center at InfoWarsStore.com. You get the Molon Labe Pro Gun shirts, whatever it is, of over 500 great items. You are funding our operation, Voting Free Will. So get the new Molon Labe, the most handsome Molon Labe shirt out there. Get the 50 cal bottle breacher made by Navy SEALs. From Made1776.com, the T-shirts made in America. Get the fluoride shield with the nascent iodine and 5 other key things to strip out the heavy metals and toxins. It's really the best deal on the site. Get the survival shield proprietary nascent iodine that has done. Look at me. Folks, put me on screen. I am working out less than I was 6 months ago. Because once you get fat and out of shape, even if I was swimming 2 miles and jogging, you know, 3 or 4 miles every other day, I got healthier, my heart, blood pressure, all that real good, but I still had blubber. Soon, I'm going to take my shirt off, folks. I mean, sitting down, I barely have a little pot belly now. It's like a third of what it was. I literally, I mean, look at me. I've still got a big round pumpkin head, but I mean, I look good. People are like, whoa, man, what's going on? And I'm telling you, it is the survival shield like nothing else out there. I mean, if I forget and don't take it 3 times a day, and I take a little bit more than this recommended dose of this, then I absolutely feel it. It's so incredible compared to all the other iodine out there, and you're helping fund our operation. In the decade after iodine was added to staple foods, there was a 15-point increase in IQs in the areas that had previously been deficient. I hope you'll visit InfoWarsLife.com and get our InfoWars Life Survival Shield.